We have Dr. Judy Wood with us this evening, and we're going to go into the second half of her presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Judy Wood.
And we're going to talk about the weather. Much worth talking about, actually. So, 10 to 15 minutes before the first plane-shaped hole appeared in the North Tower, this is what was on the weather stations. This is CBS and Fox. As nice as can be, right over New York City, as nice as can be, wonderful weather. But what was really going on there? This is Herald.
Morning. You know, people ask me why I have been so attracted over the years to hurricane coverage, but there's risk involved. There is, you know, the peril of not knowing what's going to happen, that adventure, and it's pitting yourself against an enemy. It's like war, only no one is shooting at you specifically. That's what the allure. But there is an area storm that I am not, the juices don't flow, and you look and check it out.
Look at that. Remember that? When that? I watched that live.
That live too.
And maybe a star on YouTube. You know, you got to get up close and personal. And
this was Hurricane Ike, I think.
that was recent. That was, wasn't this Rita?
You would know.
You know what? I think it was Rita.
Rita in Galveston, Texas. Yeah, Galveston. And you know, obviously Katrina before that changed so many of our histories. It was so traumatic. You know, and it's one funny thing I think of if only a hurricane had come on 9/11. Remember, they didn't know how to use instruments, the terrorists. They took off in Boston, and they literally, after they took over the aircraft, they steered by line of sight. And it was that crystal clear September day.
Sure was. Beautiful.
And if it were only one of these weather days, history would have been rewritten. And I think about that a lot now, and especially this time of year.
So are you
we're the peak of hurricane season.
Yeah, you're celebrating 40 years?
40 years, imagine that, isn't it?
40 years.
40 years.
And, you know, longevity has its own revenge. I've outlived like 15 generations of TV critics.
Yeah.
They all predicted I'd be done in a couple of weeks.
Well, do you still get...
Everyone has those stories, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
Wouldn't it be nice if there was a hurricane on 9/11? There it is.
Well, I don't know about that. Here again, you're asking us to deal with a fact I'm not aware of. I never heard about flames or fumes. I mean, fumes coming out of a building. I'll tell you what, first of all, let me go to Steve in Florida. Steve in Florida, you're on the air. Go ahead, please, with Dr. Judy Wood.
Hi, Joy. Thank you for taking my call. Am I loud and clear?
Yeah, you are. Go ahead.
Judy, you have misrepresented the facts concerning Hurricane Aaron. I live here in hurricane country, Florida. I track all the hurricanes. Aaron hit Corpus Christi, Texas, 15 August 2007. Your opinion concerning 911 are not consistent with the facts provided on 911 ripple effect, last man out, Richard Gage's blueprint for truth, loose change final cut, Zero, an investigation into 911, and many other video documentaries. I don't know what planet you've come from.
Okay. I guess he's gone. I don't know what happened to Steve.
As for Hurricane Aaron, they did not retire that name. It has been used several times. It was the first hurricane, I believe, of the 2001 hurricane season.
All right, let me go back to George. George, ask her one question that you would like to get answered.
Well, I don't think MIT does much in conspiracy theory, especially at those levels.
Is that a question?
But we do talk about...
I'll answer that one question.
Okay.
If I may ask my question. I remember 9/11 very clearly, and you talk about Hurricane Aaron coming and having some effects. And I do recall almost every picture, in fact, every picture I've seen of New York on that day, the sky was blue. Clear blue, not a cloud in the sky. If you go and follow the track of her...
Do you have a question or
no, wait a second. Okay, he's asking the question about obviously about the hurricane. I never heard about the hurricane. This is hurting, I think, the situation because we can't verify some of your so-called evidence here. I mean, I'm trying to. I'm wanting to. Well, it's also that we're saying hurricanes are things that are documented. Yeah. And if you have it documented and nobody else does, then where did
the National Hurricane Center has it documented? This is another issue. Why is it not been publicized?
I think it was underreported. How could so many people so strongly believe there was no hurricane there. Remember when I said I noticed the dust going up and I went for more pictures to see where it went, how far up the dust went, and then, whoa, what's this? It's a hurricane. It's a Category 3 hurricane aimed directly towards New York City. And this is the Boston airport. There was a flight attendant that didn't know that took off that day from Boston, Logan Airport, didn't know there was a hurricane there until he saw it on my website. They took off going north and then went that way to San Francisco. But there's 3 major airports surrounding Manhattan. There's LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark. All 3 of them reported thunder on 9/11. There's a static field and an energy system that's outside of a hurricane that causes dry thunder. So we know that field existed there. That's the route it took. And for 4 days straight, and right to New York City, 8 o'clock in the morning, reporting for duty, sir. It stopped like it pulled up to a chalk line, and then that afternoon it headed out of town. There was a high-pressure system that was coming from the west, and as the weather report showed from the National Hurricane Center, that they thought on day 1 it was going to turn around. It didn't. Day 2 they thought it was going to turn around. It didn't. Day 3 they thought it was going to turn around. It didn't. Day 4 they thought it was going to turn around, and thank goodness it did. They didn't have any more room to spare. How fast can you evacuate that many people from Manhattan? How can they be so sure?
Well, one funny thing I think of if only a hurricane had come on 9/11. And it was that crystal clear September day.
Sure was.
And if it were only
that's where the hurricane was.
one of these weather days, history would have been rewritten. And I think about that a lot.
And Scott Stevens, the weather guy, said, like, how much trouble does it take to click on an icon to put that on the map? When this weather report was showing, that's where the hurricane was located. Now, I give some hats off to Fox News. At least they reported the high pressure system moving east here, and that's what he's talking about with his hands on the chart. It's a counter-rotating system. The hurricane rotates one way, and a high-pressure system rotates the other way. So we had counter-rotating systems on top of each other. But CBS News, as nice as can be. Right there, as nice as can be.